Maria, update us on the last 24 hours.
Look, this was a Eurogroup that was very hyped up. There was a lot of expectations placed on it. I'm sure you know there was a lot of chat going into this about perhaps Corona bonds. Well, the result of it was, I would say, it's slightly underwhelming. It's clear by now that finance ministers do believe the way to tackle this is more on the credit side than it would be on a Corona bond. They feel is the best way to go about this, at least for the time being, is to tap the ESM, if anything, and that would be around 2% of GDP on a national basis. There are a number of issues here. Of course, the question mark is how or what type of conditionality are we going to get pegged to those credit lines? That carries a political stigma. The Italians, for example, they do not want to see any conditionality attached to this because they feel this is something that is really, frankly, not something they created. This is not a political problem that found themselves into. This is a health crisis. Why should there be any conditionality? And speaking of Italy, of course, there was bad news yesterday over the past 24 hours where both the number of cases and deaths actually climbed up again. And that is denting some of the hopes that the lockdown measures were working, that the lockdown measures were actually reducing those numbers. It's too early to say that they've failed. In fact, what we hear now is that if anything, what we need to see is a bigger lockdown.